let go in your brain. You know you can't sustain the misconceptions in your mind. One day you'll see for sure what all of this was for. Then you can leave it all behind. The journey begins. I am the one, yeah, that will show the proof. I am the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. In the beginning was found this thing that cannot speak. It's how we all truly learn. It's only ever attained when one lets go of fear. So don't let wisdom pass you by. The journey begins. I am the one, yeah, that will show the proof. I am the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. It was there all along. How could I never have seen this thing that's danced all around? It wasn't until I left behind the things I believed that I could see things so clear. The journey begins. Become the one, yeah, that will show the proof. Become the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. Become the whispers of the logic in their mind. Become an agent of the Logos. Become an agent of the Logos. We are the agents of the Logos.
And we are live, actual live, like really live. We are live. It is Tuesday, Logic Day, and we're gonna. It's a request from one of our friends, subscribers, people that come round, to go over this. I don't know, it's a Blue Marble scientific thing where they take something that exists in reality and say, not that, but not that. So today, like the thingy says, we're going to go over the logic of variable pi. So I think first off, what we should do is go over actual pi for people that aren't actually aware of what pi is. We have I don't know whether I've not got anything prepared for any of this at all, so we were going to go over a video, which we will go over video. I don't think it's too long, is it? I think the Blue Marble scientist, the head Blue Marble scientist, the guy with the biggest and the whitest blue marble science coat, has made a video. But to go over pi, it's a mathematical number. People know it as a number, 3.14. dot 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 dot. The dot 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 means it goes on forever. Always changing, always different numbers. There's no sequential things that they've ever found, and it keeps going forever, as far as they know. They've never found the end of it. Kant, yeah, the guy called it transcendental, but I mean, it depends what you mean as transcendental within the understanding of numbers. To me, always transcendental's always been some sort of, I don't know. It's always had some sort of a religious type connotation. It's some sort of ethereal type thing.
Mystical kind of
Yeah.
mystical. Yeah.
Fantasy even, right? Transcendental, to link the transcendental to the number. And I mean, Kant was a philosopher and a mathematician, was he? I don't know. I mean, I think they tie a lot of this mathematics in with philosophy somehow, or these people are considered polymaths. But I mean, that's, I don't know. I don't think these people that supposedly do all of these sort of things, I don't believe it's one person. I think all of this takes a group of people in order to do these things. So assigning it all to one person is a bit like what everybody's doing around here with me. And I'm not... the thing I talk about is not just me. It comes from everyone, the entire group. I just seem to be the one that can vocalize it more than others. Some people get shy. Some people don't want to do live. It's a group effort. Everything that we do here is about the group of people. And what seems to be going on is there's a load of people that are singling me out. Hey, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, there's not too many people watching either. So maybe the hit campaign, the hate campaign that's going on from the flat earthers, maybe that's stopping people from watching. Maybe actively they are doing that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he sent another shout out to not watch us. Maybe somebody thinks we're narcissistic and psychopathic. Cult members. I think that's what the call was going out last night. Very strange. But hey, if people want to stay away, that's exactly what we were planning with. Does seem very strange though. Crazy people.
Yeah, we kind of figured that that's what would happen, but I think, at least for me anyway, I was kind of hoping that wouldn't be the case, but it's clear now that that is the case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know this is a pattern. This is a pattern that the Blue Marble scientists have always been in. The point where they say something stupid, we pointed out that they've said something stupid, and then they have to flip it round somehow and turn it all on us, and then do like a hate campaign where they tell everybody not to bother listening to us because we don't understand anything and we don't know anything. When we just carry on doing exactly the same path that we've always been on. But that path gets backtracked all the time. We keep reversing to go back to the beginnings to hopefully pick more people up. But hey, people might be getting bored of it. Who knows? People might want to go further. I don't know.
I will say I have noticed though that I think we may have brought some unity to the
Flat
to
Earth
the
Society.
whole topic.
Yeah,
to the whole globe Earth versus flat Earth. I think we brought some unity there. Got people working together. kumbayaing at the moment. It's fantastic, I think.
Well, like we seen last night, guy called Flat Earth Math, he came in to defend Flat Earth debate.
Yeah.
He was the one that said he started the Flat Earth debate idea. The ridiculous idea of the fact that you can possibly debate something with zero arguments. That's, I think, the bit that we're showing at the minute. The people with no arguments are getting really upset that we're pointing out that they have no arguments. And they're getting upset about us making geometric statements 2 years ago. They think that's about them. It's mainly, what we do is we mainly talk to people and give people their say. Because I don't think there's enough of this conversation going on to bring all of this sort of stuff out. I mean, there's certain things and contradictions that we've seen, but pointing them out isn't going to help, really. What you need to do is you need to be able to see the contradiction in the first place. If you can't see the contradiction, then me showing you something that you can't see will won't help in the slightest. And Nathan, I think, Nathan Oakley, the Flat Earth superhero that he is, I don't think Nathan can see that he hasn't got an argument.
I thought QE was Superman.
No, the entire Flat Earth debate, that's Superman. Like a Power Ranger where they all join together. Yeah, that was the way QE described it. The Flat Earth debate was the, and everybody knows that's Nathan Oakley. Flat Earth debate is led by Nathan Oakley. He's the mouthpiece of that particular thing. And yes, Nathan Oakley is telling everybody that the Earth is flat when it's obviously not. Now, the Flat Earth Math said.
So we got both sides claiming flat in their names, right? But what is flat? Like,
Well,
definition wise, because they both sides want to use that word.
do you think if has anybody ever actually checked flat? I've not, because there's no point for me having the definition of flat. It makes no use. I would never bring it out. Now, I do know that all maps are flat. All 2-scale maps are flat. You can fold them. Let me just have a quick check. Has anybody ever got the definition of flat?
No, I've never actually.
Cambridge Dictionary says level and smooth with no curved, high, or hollow parts. Level, but having little or no height. Flat shoes. Flatbread. Flat cap.
So, technically, if you looked at Earth, these flat earthers that we talk about could say it looks flat, right? They can say that it looks flat from a high elevation.
I guess that depends on where you are, right? Because if you're from a high elevation, if you're over Everest, I mean, how high is does the elevation have to be, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I've never really done
I
this.
don't know.
I would say that without context, it means everything or nothing. So just vague statement has to be contextualized, because without context means nothing. So because if in dictionary it is they say it is level, for me flat doesn't mean that it's level. My glasses in my windows are not level, but they are flat
All right.
surface.
Okay. Perfect. Paper. Thank you. So if we Google the definition of level, they say it conforms to the curved parts of Earth's surface, like the water. So two definitions are in contradiction.
It does say here, though, for the landforms, geography, flat, landform, brackets, a relatively level area within a region of greater relief.
Yes, relatively, it
Yeah.
means that it doesn't mean that it is perfectly flat, but in relation to, for example, mountains and valleys. But this is just poetic expression, nothing more.
All right, here we go. Mathematics and geometry. Flat geometry, the generalization of lines and planes in a dimensional Euclidean space. Flatness, brackets mathematics, of a surface.
In a what dimensional space?
Look at this. You know, they like to put number in there as a There we go. Mathematics and geometry of a surface.
For me, this is strange because of a surface, it means of a surface of solid object. So in reality, so why it is in mathematics? I don't understand that.
Geometries in mathematics. I'm putting the further in the link. Check this one as well. This isn't the one that I saw. Arts and entertainment. It says flat brackets soldier. I'm not really understanding of this. It says a two-dimensional toy soldier made of tin or plastic. Remember, this is only in Wiki. But they've got a two-dimensional thing made of something that's obviously three-dimensional.
For me,
And that was oh, sorry, paper. Go ahead.
no, go on.
I was just going to ask, is that what was that again in Wiki that you looked up, Bev?
Flat?
Flat. Yeah, I looked it up as well, and I think they had like I think can't remember if it was Merriam-Webster. Somebody can look it up, but they had like 19 or 20 different definitions.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could pick a more nebulous word to use to describe your deity, I call it a deity. Big E. We call it Big E. Some people call it
Big
Big
E.
E. Right? If you could find a more nebulous word, I'd challenge you to find a more nebulous word. 20 definitions? It's just strange.
It's got the 100 and something synonyms. And the top 4.
Yeah.
Listen to these for synonyms for flat. Empty, flat, horizontal, low, unbroken. They're the top 4 synonyms for flat.
Because for me, it is highly contextualized. So you may exchange with other words in context. But for me, flat earth, meaning that the surface of the earth is flat, it doesn't match that description. It's not good. Because if in mathematics it says that this is flat of a surface, flatness of the surface, it means that the surface of the earth should be flat, and which is not. So for earth, that would be big misnomer, I would say. For other things like glasses or windows or whatever, or table, it's just vernacular description, and nobody will argue that my table is not flat because we have some molecular ondulance or whatever. So, but for description of something that this is obviously not flat, visually not flat, it would be misnomer. This is what I think about that.
Well, like in that, I seriously had never heard of the fact of flat being horizontal, right? But can you see what I just put in there? The antonyms for flat. Because I was looking at the synonyms. I'll get you the thing of the synonym for flat. This is only dictionary.com. You know, no need for anybody to get upset about anything like this. These are just words and the way that people use them. Dictionaries are common usage of the word, right? Now, me personally, I'd never heard of flat being an orientation. But apparently, within this, with the synonyms for flat, it's got horizontal. Do you know what is missing on there?
A little bit of discernment, maybe.
Well, there's another word associated with horizontal, right? What's that?
Level of curve.
Level.
Well, no, vertical. Like vertical. If you look in the antonyms for flat,
Antonyms, yes.
it's upright.
I would say that would be true in context, because if
flat is an orientation, then upright would be the antonym because it's perpendicular.
Yeah.
If you don't include vertical as a flat plane within your synonyms, whilst including horizontal, then you can have an antonym. Yeah, I mean, like, I never knew this about the words. I mean, is everybody else aware that within the dictionary, they do actually consider flat as an antonym, right? An antonym is upright for flat. So flat, within the dictionary at least, must be an orientation. Not weird.
Seems very strange to me.
How can you have upright? That's crazy. The plane. It does say a synonym for plane. Why can you not have a vertical plane? Why just horizontal? What's it talking about? Can't have a plane in any other orientation other than horizontal. Otherwise, it's an antonym. Ish. depends. When does a when does a synonym become an antonym? At what, like, is there a degree of slope? How does that work?
It means that it has different meanings in different contexts, and that's why I would not use that word as geometrical or mathematical description of anything.
Yeah. I wouldn't, like I say, I've never used it within an argument other than to say all maps, all two-scale maps are flat. But that doesn't necessarily, it never, to me, gave an orientation to a map.
Yes, you can hang your map on the wall. It doesn't make it not flat.
I've got 2 maps on the wall, and I have actually got a lumpy map hanging vertically. It's got elevation changes on it, even though I've got it orientated vertically.
But if they mean flat, that it has no deviation from horizontal, and that would be, this vertical would be antonym for that. But still, it doesn't mean that Earth is flat, because it has vertical changes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like I say, if it's an orientation, then the Earth still isn't flat, because it's not of the same orientation. There's grades, there's slopes, there's all sorts of stuff. Water, as we know, flows downhill. Down. That's an orientation, isn't it? Down. Crazy. We've got Stark Otter, who's a long time troll. Never actually talking. He's never got the kahunas to actually come and talk about anything. But he says here, he's put a thing, a flat earther in the dictionary, in the American English dictionary. A person who adheres to the idea that the earth is flat, obviously, that's not, we don't do that, right? We've said many times that it's definitely not flat. And he said the second one here is a person who clings to an idea or theory that has long been proved wrong. Well,
so
okay.
this is generalization. So this is very, for me, this is ideologically very dangerous entry, this second.
Yeah.
Because it puts anyone into like enemy of the people, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's been proved wrong about what we say.
Yes, that's the case. So you can be guilty of something without proving that you are guilty.
Yeah.
That
Can you read?
part is dangerous for me.
Yeah, I would agree with Paper on that. Can you read the second part of that again, though?
It says a person who clings to an idea or theory that has long been proved wrong.
Any idea or theory.
Yes, and
Yes.
it is not specified that you have to be flat earther.
Mm-hmm.
No, any. You are called flat earther if you just you are clinging to an idea, anything.
Like the fact that you can't have a line A to B orientated horizontally.
It could be not even in mathematics or geometry.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Well, you would have to be able to prove it, though, right? The proof factor still comes into it. That it needs a logical statement. So you're going to have to involve some sort of mathematical, geometric thinking, aren't you? In order for you to make an argument to be able to prove
Can I give my take?
Go on.
Okay, so the term flat earther
Hmm.
in this context of this definition is like when one of the politicians is talking about like your medical status and you not believing that something's good for you, they will call you a flat earther.
And they did already.
Yeah.
This is
Yes, it was
not
done
a
in Congress.
theory. I heard that many times.
Hmm.
But for example, if you are a creationist and let's say political correctness says that we believe in evolution, you will be called flat earther, and you will be guilty, of course.
What about believing that vertical and horizontal, or knowing that vertical and horizontal are indeed perpendicular?
You are also flat earther and enemy of the people.
Because
That's
that
obvious.
has been proved wrong, I suppose, by the blue marble scientists. The fact that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular. Someone within the blue marble scientific community has some ability to be able to prove that vertical and horizontal. I mean, I get it. That person will show themselves, hopefully, soon. Because it's long been proved. Confused people, very confused within this right now. I think I should really get to this blue marble comment. Right. So these are the... Wow, this is a... Well done yourself, Blue. Right, here we go. This is coming into the live chat. I'm thinking this Blue's come around because he senses this might be about him. I always love it when they write walls of text. It's great. So this is Big Blue, right? Not Blue Marble Science, but I think it's a Blue Marble Science sock. He doesn't want to. He may not want to embarrass the Blue Marble scientific community by using Blue Marble Science when he does this. So I don't know. I don't know how it works. He may have one on his phone and one on his PC. And Big Blue says, can you point me to the part of Euclid where he discusses vertical and horizontal? Big Blue. And I said, Euclid did the definitions of our geometric understanding. Vertical and horizontal are perpendicular, aren't they? Question mark. Because this is the question. Ask yourself. Vertical and horizontal, are they perpendicular? Is that the understanding of the perpendicularity? Can you form a square with these perpendicular lines in reality? Two of the lines being orientated horizontally and two of the lines being orientated vertically. Since they are perpendicular to each other, that is the geometric definition of a square. Then I don't know, right? That's the question I'm asking. Blue wants me to answer the question whether Euclid used horizontal and vertical. Well, Euclid used the geometric principles of our understanding logically to derive the entire Euclid thing, and he doesn't use any numbers.
And why should he? Because
Yeah.
for me, this is Stroman, because he established or defined a relationship between perpendicular lines and horizontal and vertical. They match.
They are perpendicular. They're defined as being perpendicular, vertical and horizontal, as far
Yeah,
as I'm aware, right?
They are one of instances of lines being perpendicular in a particular orientation. So it doesn't. I cannot see what is his point to ask that question, because this is just one of multiple orientation we can choose for perpendicular lines. Infinite number of orientations, and one of these orientations is vertical versus horizontal. So what?
Yeah, they both come together, don't they? Right, as you orientate these perpendicular lines, if you put one of those perpendiculars in the horizontal orientation, then all of the other perpendiculars will be in the vertical orientation.
Yes,
that's just
that's
what it
it.
means. Yeah.
Yes.
Very simple geometric basics, really. But this is Blue Marble Science. Blue Marble Science using the similar tactics as the Flat Earth Debate superheroes, within not stating an argument in rebuttal to a very simple geometric statement. Everybody's going to have to answer these questions on their own, to themselves. Is vertical and horizontal perpendicular? And is your understanding of perpendicular derived through a geometric understanding? In it, for instance, a square. Is a square a good description of perpendicularity? I would say yes. It's one of the best. But even better is a grid formation, because that shows you the lines being perpendicular. Very simple. But then math, flat earth math, comes and he says Euclid defined perpendicular. He did not define horizontal and vertical. I had fun last night. Thanks for being a gracious host. So I don't know whether that's to Blue, right? Whether he was sort of saying that Euclid defined perpendicular and he didn't do vertical and horizontal. But it's a common knowledge that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular. Are they not? Or has somebody got, has it long been proved that vertical and horizontal are not perpendicular? Because nobody bothered telling me.
Can I?
Oh, yeah, breaking up a bit.
Am I? Can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Okay. The thing I noticed with Charles yesterday was that he agreed with us that he could establish a horizontal, and every vertical on that horizontal would be perpendicular. He just argues that when he moves, he establishes a new horizontal. But after that, he then tries to go back and say that a horizontal is only horizontal at the point that you make it. But he agreed that he had a horizontal, it was just tilted. So where did his horizontal go?
It's a mind horizontal, right? It's a hard thing to get a grip on when I said, once you have this model, it replaces what is known to be true.
True.
Yeah, with this, not that, but that, right? They want to use that, but say not that.
Yeah, not quite that.
It comes across as a complete confusion to me. Like you can hear them sat in aporia, not knowing what to do. But they've spent so long sat in aporia, they've become comfortable with it. And what they do in turn is, I consider it gaslighting.
And by the way, he is doing something that he cannot do, because if he was saying about horizontal line, and only at one point you can do that, it means that he was not talking about horizontal line.
Yeah, he's not talking about a line.
Yeah, but he did admit that he had a horizontal line, because he then admitted, yeah, I could put, a whole load of
He took it
verticals
back,
on
though.
No.
That's that's a trick that he did.
Back.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
has both. He's holding a horizontal being a straight line from A to B that has verticals that will be perpendicular, as well as a horizontal only being horizontal at the point you're at. So they're
Yes.
both.
So yes, so this line being straight is losing horizontal position by moving by one point. So if you move mathematically 1 point from your vertical position, let's say, or intersection, this line is no longer horizontal for Charles.
It's a whole new horizontal.
But how can you have new line which is the same line?
You can't.
You cannot have old and new line being the same line. This is nonsense.
That's why the shared straight line segments prove. That's why that realizes Euclid.
Yeah, there's loads of things that can realize Euclid. It's easy to do.
For sure.
I just chose something that's specific to us. I mean, anyone can do this sort of thing on their own. That's what it's there for. I think this journey it's a personal journey that people have to go on individually, right? You have to go on to this. It's a mind thing where you have to take your mind into this reasoning process that these guys are only just getting into. They're a fair bit behind, to be honest. And I thought we've been trying to ease people into something, right? And to find out that these guys they've never even questioned themselves yet. And we already know every one of the problems that they're going to face and where the contradictions occur. But they can't see the contradictions.
Because they haven't looked yet.
It's going to be a tough journey. No, they're not allowed to see the contradictions.
Well, Charles definitely couldn't see what we were trying to explain. All he wanted to do was say, no, horizontal and vertical aren't geometric, therefore I can do all these other things with them, even though he's arguing that, yes, he has a horizontal line that's a straight line from A to B. Like, oh my goodness, Charles.
There is no need to define horizontal and vertical because in geometry, because this is one instance of perpendicular lines, and Euclid does not define particular instances, because this is it doesn't work that way in logic. You don't define number one. You can define what number is, but you don't define number one, and separate definition for number two, and separate definition for number three, etc.
Yeah, it's just one would be related to the straight line geometrically, and that has no length. So how do you get to two without defining one? And one would then have to be defined as the particular length. But if you take it to two geometrically, it's still just a straight line.
Yeah, so it's nonsense to make definition for one instance. If it is one of orientations. So complete nonsense. It is never done in logic. You don't do that in logic. You are making definitions for species and not for particular instances.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
when we
like
get round to it, pi is another one of those numerical problems when you try and relate a geometric term to the number form, like we've described with 1 to 2 with the straight line geometrically. You've got pi, which is a transcendental number, but the diameter and the circumference of the circle actually do exist, right?
yes, of course.
So the pi being a number that you cannot reach should show you that there's either a problem between the two, or maybe a message that you can't do this. And if there is a message of you can't do this inbuilt into something so basic, then I would say it's a message to say numerically, you can't do this. Think of something different. This number thing isn't going to give you an answer. The only answer it does give you is that it can't actually give you an answer. I think it's fantastic. The closer you get to the answer, the more it tells you that you know, just one more, go on a bit further, and you're forever going, chasing it. Chasing what?
Some mirage.
Yeah, chasing a number. For what reason? It's not special.
Yes, so yes, not special. So another example would be like defining species of cats. We have species cats, yes, or dogs, and we can say that this particular cat is black. But defining the cats as black, it's nonsense. You cannot define black cats. You are defining cats, not black cats, because black refers to particular individual, let's say. So the same thing with lines, perpendicular lines. This is one instance. So one particular instance of,
with one line being related to the
yes,
other.
Yes, so one instance cannot be defined as species. So what Blue Marble Science and Charles demands is nonsense. Nobody defines instances, particular things.
I think it shows the confusion within them.
It's like defining person, one person. You can't define what personality is, but you cannot say that Socrates is definition. No, it is one instance of being person. But this Socrates is one instance. This is not definition. So if you are saying name of some man, like Socrates, you cannot say that you defined Socrates by naming it Socrates, him Socrates. The same thing with vertical and horizontal. This is one instance of many perpendicular lines, and it doesn't fit any definition. So this demand is nonsensical for me, and strawman, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then whatever comes in, right, and in his wisdom, he says Euclid's vertical angles aren't related to horizontal. Do you like that? I don't know why. Yeah. Maybe just throw in the element of confusion. Euclid. So Euclid does mention vertical angles. It's a term within geometry, isn't it? What do they call it? There's loads of different terms for them. There's opposite angles are equal. Whenever you intersect two straight lines, the opposite angles will always be equal, and the two angles on one side will always add up to 180 degrees. So the opposite angles, also called the vertical angles, are equal. I think that's the way Euclid
Yes,
describes
but
it.
this word vertical refers to vertex. So they have opposing vertices.
Yeah.
So
It's
it
in
is
relation to the line, isn't it? You know, like yeah.
so he is talking about angle, this vertex of an angle. So there are two vertices of lines. So we have four lines, or just two lines intersecting.
Yeah.
Creating
Four
opposite
angles.
angles. Yes. So this vertical angle refers to vertex, not to vertical line known as plumb or whatever. So this is not this case. I think that whatever is confusing this, let's say, original name, Greek or geometrical name of vertex and vertical line in like in surveying, he is confusing that.
Right.
think.
So yeah. Blue Marble then comes back. He comes back with that's not what I asked. So let's go back on this. He said, right, can you point me to the part of Euclid where he discusses vertical and horizontal? Right, and my reply was Euclid defined perpendicular. He did not. Oh no, that was math, isn't it? Was my reply. Euclid did the definitions of our geometric understanding. Vertical and horizontal are perpendicular, aren't they? That's my statement. And Blue's saying that's not what he asked. Well, he asked if Euclid defined vertical and horizontal. And why would Euclid define vertical and horizontal? He did define perpendicular, and that's where we get our understanding that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular. I can't see what Blue Marble has a problem with, and why Blue Marble is particularly using this path. Other than to confuse people, I think, or let other people know how confused he is.
Yeah, for me, this is silly. It's like, for example, if two lines at right angle are perpendicular to each other, then, but you didn't define that horizontal, that green line is perpendicular to red line.
Yeah.
So if you didn't define that green and red line are perpendicular, therefore you cannot use that as something, etc. This is nonsense.
Yeah, you
Complete
can't
nonsense.
really, you cannot change the definition of perpendicular. But I'm guessing the Blue Marble scientific approach is to confuse the shit out of everybody about vertical and horizontal. Hey, that's fine. We'll stick to geometry and keep plodding along like we are doing, right? But this is Blue Marble's reply. He says, that's not what I asked. Where within Euclidean geometry can I find a definition of vertical or horizontal? You talk about definition. of an orientation within Euclid, right? It's planar geometry up until book 11. Why would they need an orientation definition? Fuck's sake. Blue marble science, you're being a tit. He says, you talk about your geometric proofs that level is horizontal and horizontal is perpendicular to vertically. So surely Euclid must have defined vertical and horizontal by them being perpendicular. Yes. And you being able to establish either a vertical or a horizontal in reality makes you be able to prove that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular. It's very simple. The logical understanding of the process that goes on. And yeah. He says, where Euclid must have defined vertical and horizontal. Where do I find that?
Why he said most? Why? Why?
I don't know.
For what purpose?
He obviously doesn't understand geometry, all right? He's not got the first idea. He thinks vertical and horizontal must be within the definitions. Crazy.
For what? I cannot see the point to putting verticals and horizontal into definition. As I said, it is only one instance of perpendicular lines. So, and nobody is who deals with logic, nobody uses instances to define anything. And why he should define in geometry these particular orientations? For what purpose? I cannot see that. And I think that Blue Marble cannot point out this, but he is putting this burden on you that you should define instead of Euclid, because Blue Marble science demands that, because he needs that. Why? I don't know. If he needs, then he should define it for himself. But why we should define this for him? And by the way, we cannot do that because you cannot define particular instances.
Yeah. It's within my understanding that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular. When we backtrack to find out the exact definition of perpendicular, that comes from Euclidean geometry. It's well defined, definition 10. One of my favorites. Because I think it has a proof within it that the straight lines have to be straight within that definition. Perpendicularity. It's a relationship between a straight line and another straight line, but which straight line is perpendicular? They both are in relation to the other one. It's good because it has all of the equals being equal as well. It encompasses quite a lot of understanding and stuff within that one definition. But it seems like Blue can't make the relationship of vertical and horizontal and perpendicularity between the vertical and the horizontal. Maybe there's something else troubling Blue Marble science. Maybe. He says, where do I find that? We have, this is the Blue Marble science, right? We have a definition of vertical that describes a normal to the surface of a sphere. I.e., any line passing through the center of the sphere and extending beyond its surface to infinity in both directions. That's... Blue Marble has a definition of vertical being that. Has anybody else ever heard that? Do you know, is there a like a Blue Marble science dictionary where you keep these definitions? Or would that be in the vault of McToonery kept over there? Blue marble, right? I'll say it again. This is for you, Paige. He says, Blue marble says, we have a definition, the blue marble scientists, we have a definition of vertical that describes a normal to the surface of a sphere, i.e. any line passing through the centre of the sphere and extending beyond its surface to infinity in both directions. We also have a defined a horizontal as a line perpendicular to any vertical, which is also a tangent line to the sphere at the intersection of the surface and the particular vertical it is perpendicular to. Wow, has anybody else ever heard that? Definition of vertical and horizontal. It's a little bit long-winded, isn't it?
He said A defined a horizontal as a line, but he should specify, is it straight? He is talking about straight line or not? Because if he is saying as a line, normally we use word line for straight line. But for blue marble science, I would not be so naive, because from what he wrote here, it means that this line cannot be straight. So he should specify this line, this horizontal line, because he is not saying what kind of line it is, curved or straight. Never here. In this sentence, he is not saying that this is straight line. And from what he wrote, it is impossible to be straight for horizontal. It's just impossible. So I have demand from blue marble science, reading this what he wrote. He has to specify this line, what it is, because from what he wrote, it is impossible for horizontal to be a straight line. He has to admit that, or name it straight line, and that would be contradiction.
Yeah. Well, I think this is good from the blue marble scientist, the head, the leading white-coated blue marble scientist. I bet he walks around his house with the white coat on, pens and stuff in his pocket, going, I'm an engineer. I was an engineer, really. He says, we have a definition. I think this is great. We have a definition of vertical that describes a definition that's normally what definitions do. Describes a normal to the surface of a sphere, i.e. any line passing through the centre of the sphere and extending beyond its surface to infinity in both directions. That's like a line. We also have defined a horizontal. So has he defined a horizontal like this? Or has he a definite? Because I've never seen it. Now, nobody's ever shown us this. Unless Blue Marble thinks he can just sort of say this and say this is the definition that Blue Marble's spoken of. Blue Marble might be the writer of the words of vertical and horizontal within the Blue Marble scientific community. Just please let us know where this is defined. Which scientific journal got us this, and I'll be fine. I'll be okay. It says, which is also tangent line to the sphere at the intersection of its surface, and the particular vertical it is perpendicular to. from Euclidean geometry, right? From Euclidean geometry, it is easily shown that no two radii / diameters can be parallel with each other. And by the definition of horizontal, no two horizontals can be parallel to each other. This clearly opposes your geometric proof, and now we need a way to test it. Blue Marble needs a way to test the horizontals. No two horizontals can be parallel to each other. He's saying that no two horizontals can be parallel to each other. So the black swan is just one single instance of a horizontal being parallel to horizontal. I mean,
yes, I have this black swan.
Yeah, me too.
So you can just rise this what he's calling tangent horizontal or whatever. You can rise this on vertical datum.
Yeah.
And you have parallel
horizontals. Yeah.
Simple. So Blue Marble science.
It is perpendicular to the same line. Blue, well, what do you not understand about geometry? Crazy fool. But hey, never mind. This is Blue Marble science we're dealing with here, right? This can't be geometric, right? Because it's missed a glaring mistake there. Blue Marble science. It's rather embarrassing, really. Like, how can your misunderstanding of horizontals not being parallel to one another, Blue, and say it clearly opposes the geometric proof that you've just been caught not seeing that's right in front of you? I mean, what's going on there, Paper? Kevin, are you in? Like, literally, what's going on in the mind of the Blue Marble scientist?
I don't know. But still, it means that if this horizontal is tangent to a sphere, it means that level is curved. So horizontal is not level, because horizontal has to deviate from level and vice versa. So how can he deal with that?
But he is talking about Euclidean, right? He's talking about Euclidean geometry. He's got a tangent line, which is a straight line.
Yeah.
Give him that, yeah.
And if vertical is straight line, and vertical has to be straight line, because as he said, it is like diameter or radii or whatever. So it is definitely straight line.
Yeah.
So if this tangent line is straight line and vertical is also straight line, we have normal situation with perpendicular straight line vertical to straight line horizontal. So what's the problem?
I think Blue is very easy to figure out what's going on. Blue is desperate. He's desperate. That's why you don't even have to look at what he's talking about here. You just have to look at, he shows up here all the time. He's making comments constantly he can't just leave us be and just say, oh, there's a bunch of crazy people over there. Don't pay any attention to them. He's completely desperate to save his deity, as I call it, again, deity, because that's how they treat this thing. It's a deity. You're threatening your geometry is threatening his god.
Yeah, well,
that's a problem.
It's this straight line.
Yeah.
Right? This straight line is troubling the Blue Marble scientists.
Yes.
So, I think
very troubling.
Yeah, in more ways than one, right? We were meant to be getting round to doing a variable pi thing, but I mean, we are still on the same understanding, right? This is Blue Marble getting troubled about a straight line. This variable pi has a direct relationship to this. we haven't forgotten about it, but this is the fundamentals of what we're talking about. In order for you to have a relationship between a straight line and a curved line that ends up within a ratio that is some called transcendental number, in order for you to do that, then your understanding of the straight line, i.e. the radius and the diameter, like Blue Marble has just stated, it's a straight line. Now, that straight line can have perpendiculars all along it. It's a straight line. I don't know what Blue Marble's attempting to do here. I mean, it should be obvious to everybody that you can orientate that line that you draw as a radius or a diameter. You can orientate that horizontally. Of course you can. Within a circle, if you could draw a straight line through the diameter and label one end of it A and the other end of it B, you've got a line that's AB. It's either it's a diameter with another point. You could put C in the center. Now all of that line would be horizontal if you orientated it horizontally.
But we have a problem because you can orientate, let's say, horizontal to level only if level is also straight line or plane or whatever. But if this level is curved, you literally cannot orientate to which point you cannot orientate line to point. It's just nonsense. You have to orientate line to line. And if level is curved, you cannot orientate in horizontal position this line. It is impossible.
But
just it.
Yeah, level isn't curved, right?
Yes, but if it, yeah, I am struggling with expression because you cannot have orientation you can call horizontal if level is curved. You cannot have that orientation that you can call this is horizontal parallel to level. You cannot say that. It is impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. I mean, there's all sorts of problems that I'm not aware that Blue Marble Science is aware of the problems that will be faced. You're best off just forgetting about geometry and the understanding of perpendicularity.
Yeah, just stop pretending like you're. Drop the science part, right? Drop the science part and just make it Blue Marble faith, because that's really what it is.
Yeah,
it's faith.
Stefan, he's coming in, obviously, in support of the Blue Marble scientist. Stefan says, in what context is Blue talking about geometry? Well, I'd say the definition of vertical, it describes a normal to the surface of a sphere. Tangent, that's geometry. Sphere, definitely, that's a geometric shape defined within in Euclid, book 11. I.e. any line, that's a straight line in geometry. That's definitely geometric within the understanding of everybody as well, right? I hope when everybody hears line geometrically, it's a straight line. You just don't need to put straight there. It's just a line. And that's defined within Euclid. Passing through the center of a sphere. That's definitely geometric. And extending beyond its surface to infinity in both directions. So it's a straight line definition of extending a straight line beyond. We also have a defined horizontal as a line. There you go. Perpendicular, that's geometry as well. A line perpendicular to any vertical. So he's horizontal is perpendicular to any vertical. You get that? So that's a relationship between horizontal and vertical that Blue Marble stated has a perpendicular relationship between the two of them. That's defined within Euclidean geometry. Vertical, is it perpendicular to? From Euclidean geometry, evenly stating Euclidean geometry, Stefan, you're doing well here for you guys. It's easily shown that no two radii, again, geometry, that's a geometric term of about a straight line from the center. Diameters, that's a Euclidean geometric term, can be parallel. Parallel, that's a definition 35 of Euclidean geometry. With each other, and by the definition of horizontal, no two horizontals can be parallel. Parallel, that's a definition within Euclid, again, with each other, and it clearly opposes your geometric proof. The geometric proofs all come within a book called Euclidean Geometry, the elements. The
Struggling, aren't they?
Yeah.
Struggling.
So it means that they are using name vertical and horizontal in completely different sense than normally in geometry we should use. So this is another meaning of vertical and another meaning of horizontal. New meaning.
How can you have
they
that,
are
though?
perpendicular. It's defined within the geometric understanding.
Right.
In this new definition of vertical, which is diameter, etc., and horizontal, which is tangent, they cannot be perpendicular. But he's saying that they are. They cannot be.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And he's also got a really big confusion about the fact that no two horizontals can be parallel to each other, but they are perpendicular to the same line. Then all of them will be parallel. Very strange, because you'd make 90 degrees all the way along, and surely that's a geometric understanding that if you're using 90 and 90 making two right angles, there's no more angles to form a triangle. It's a simple... I think that's one of the most simple, and it's defined within perpendicularity. It's a very special condition. It stops triangles from being formed and causes the state of what we know as parallel. But parallel is a definition. So yeah, thanks for that, Stefan. Let me clarify that again. That yes, Blue Marble Science is talking about geometry and the definitions within geometry, but he's very confused about what they actually mean and how we gain proofs from those statements. I feel sorry for the Blue Marble Scientist, really, because we know that there's areas that they're just not allowed to go to. They can't see it. ECV. I like the way he has to think. He's putting me that I need to test that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular for some reason. It's crazy definitions, Blue. Crazy. Right. Blue Marble has a suggestion. Right, after just stating his complete and utter confusion about how geometry works. Listen to this. I suggest we do the following. Let's take two theodolites and position them 10 miles apart. Would you like the setup?
Great.
You can almost hear what's coming, can't you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
10 miles apart, with one of them elevated a few hundred feet higher than the other, such that the two instruments have a clear line of sight to each other. I like it. Oh, but I hope you're going to do this, Blue, your suggestion. Put this on Blue's suggestions. Then, Let's point the theodolites at each other. A well practiced, never done surveying technique.
But he's just repeating what supposedly this Jesse Kozłowski and the other guy they did.
Larry.
So these theodolites were on different elevations, and this is for blue marble science. This is perfect test.
Yeah.
That would
Is this an actual surveying technique?
From what you said about that, of course, it is not.
Yeah. I'm just asking the blue marble scientists out there. Welcome, Super Trolls. Oh, welcome.
That's fine. My phone was downstairs. So that's what I call tool abuse.
Mm-hmm. Pointing theodolites at each other. I think it's brilliant. It's genius. And then Blue says, then let's point the theodolites at each other and carefully measure the zenith angles indicated by each instrument. If the verticals are parallel, as you claim they are, that's not me, Blue. I've said that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular and that all horizontals are parallel. You should listen to the enthymeme. Obviously, you have been listening to it. Because I didn't say that. I purposely not said that. I understand the perpendicularity and geometrics, and I understand that horizontals are definitely all parallel. But we should embrace the enthymeme. Really. Get on board with it. It says, then, according to Euclid, Book 1, Proposition 29, he's done it again. Why 29? Very strange. He obviously doesn't understand geometry, but hey, we can go over that at some point. The sum of the zenith angles will be exactly 180 degrees. If the verticals are not parallel and leaning toward each other, the sum of those angles will be less than 180 degrees. And if the verticals lean away from each other, the sum of the angles will be greater than 180 degrees. Would you be willing to take part in an actual test like this? And if not, why not? I'd say this is a blue marble science thing, Blue. It's your idea. I think you deserve to do it.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Deserve the glory.
I mean, yeah. How could anybody take this away from you, Blue?
Mm-hmm.
You go ahead, please. Make a video about it, even. I implore you to go and test it. See ya, chicken. Yeah, so what do you reckon to that? Blue marble science and the blue marble scientific method of, what do we call it, Rob? He's downstairs, he's out the way. I'll wait until he comes back.
I'm here. I'm stripping a headliner.
Yeah, the blue marble scientific method of
Tool abuse.
Tool abuse. Yeah.
Yeah, see, hey, here, like, I might be guilty of tool abuse too. Because, see, I'm using, I don't know if the tool was designed for this, but here, I'll show you what I'm doing. And you guys tell me if this is tool abuse. Because I don't think I'm using the tool the way it was designed. So here, I got a headliner for a vehicle, right? I got a drill and a wire brush. But I'm using the wire brush on foam. Would you call this tool abuse?
No,
I would say
so.
that would be a crime. That would be a crime.
I'm not sure.
It's a common blue marble scientific surveying procedure, this, like as you quite rightly say, tool abuse. It's not an actual surveying method or anything that anyone, well, like I say, some people would do it, and some people would praise them for doing it, but
does it accomplish the like? Does it do what you're expecting it to do?
what is it doing?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, see, my tool abuse is doing way better than me doing it by hand. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll show you guys how. Like if I took a wire brush and just started trying to wipe this off by hand, it would take me forever. But watch this. Gone. Like, it's ridiculous. But somebody could call that tool abuse.
Well,
Not the same kind of tool abuse, because the tool is still kind of doing what it's supposed to. Whereas they're kind of doing the same thing. They're using the tool for angles, but you're using for a tool or for an angle to the same tool. I don't get that.
it's just two separate angles.
And at that distance that you cannot, because you are abusing procedure here, because in the procedure is that you have to measure on the rod, you have to measure these millimeters or whatever. And if you cannot do that, you are not doing what you are supposed to do as surveyor technique.
Oh,
So-
no, wait a minute. We'll just go through it quickly. A brief outline of what Blue Marble science surveying method he's got, right? So, two theodolites, right? 10 miles apart. So we'll put one at A and one at B. Now, they're 10 miles apart. That 10 miles is a distance. I say a linear distance. I mean, we are doing geometry, right? So 10 miles is a straight line with a theodolite at each end, right? Then he says, with one of them elevated a few 100 feet higher than the other. So you've lift one of them up, right? We're making a shape there, right? Have we? Did we just make a shape geometrically? A Blue Marble science understanding, or is Blue imagining a different shape than what we've just made? I think you've got a straight line from A to B, and then you've got an elevation at one end higher than the other. You've got
That
a
would be a
vertical and a
triangle.
horizontal, right?
That would be a triangle.
With the vertical and the horizontal, 10 miles horizontally, distance between points, and then a vertical elevation. That's how they're measured in reality. So that's the method that Blue Marble's doing. Is that correct, Blue, within our understanding of how you've laid out your Blue Marble scientific Blue Marble theodolite tool abuse? The Blue Marble scientific approach to tool abuse. Great. I don't think he's going to tell us. It is a straight line between those 2 points, right? Because if we're doing it geometrically, that's what we're doing, I think. Who knows? We'll get around to that, and that's Blue Marble, and he's pointing theodolites at each other. The well-known Blue Marble scientific approach of pointing theodolites at each other, large distances apart. Unknown procedure to any surveyor. Just ask them. See if they've ever done it for themselves. They'd surely be the best people to ask. So, let's see if we've got any more comments on the on YouTube. Seems to be quite it's quite good every now and again. Whatever. No. Oh, well, I hope that answered the questions from the blue marble scientists. It's just vertical and horizontal being straight lines and being perpendicular. Can we get a confirmation that we're talking about the same thing? Because that seems to be what we're saying is just a very simple vertical and horizontal are perpendicular. And the understanding of perpendicular comes from geometry and the understanding that straight lines are at 90 degrees to each other and all right angles are equal, a geometric axiom. Obviously, self-evident, but with the straight lines and the 90s. Have we got that blue marble spherical pie? Has anyone got it at hand? And then we'll have a quick look at that. Let me see if I can find it. Did he just do the one? Do you know the difference? Is that the one? Is this your video here, Blue? I'll put it in the chat. There. Is that the one? Or has he done more than one? Let me just check. He might have gone overboard and done like loads of spherical pie videos. There's a lot of pictures of me on it. Blue, are you alright? Do you like me, Blue? Seems to be. I know the blue marble scientific method seems to be a bit ridiculous. But...
Hey, Bev, I think that picture that I shared, I think that's in that same video.
Nice. We'll be going over it then.
Yeah.
Nice. Very good. Right, so is the let me get this. Here we go. Spherical pie and where it comes from. Where it comes from. Right. Blue marble science. Science! Not really. Frantic bunny ears.
Well, hello everybody. Have you ever heard of spherical pie? And do
No.
you know what the difference is between pie and spherical pie?
We know for a fact that pi is a constant. Right? I.e., it doesn't ever change. It's the relationship between the diameter and the circumference of a circle. That's what makes a circle is the fact that this ratio is observed at all times. I would say this is one of the proofs within reality that Euclidean geometry is the defining thing for reality. The fact that pi, when you try to translate it numerically, it gives you a number that tells you cannot find the number. It says there is no actual number. So, yeah, pi is definitely a constant, and anything other than that constant is a not pi. Right? Because pi is that constant. That's what pi is. To me, anyway. maybe other people have the similar sort of notions.
If you don't, you might find this interesting. Now, we all know what a circle is, but the ones we usually think of are 2D Euclidean circles like the one I've drawn here.
What? Is he setting up for a different sort of circle?
Did he say 3D circle?
I don't think he's got there yet, but I mean, listen. Try it again.
Is, but the ones we usually think of are 2D Euclidean circles like the one I've drawn here. We know that for any circle, the ratio of the circumference of the circle to its diameter is that constant we call pi.
A constant, yeah. Brilliant, Flo. You seem to be completely agreeing with us. It's great.
Has a value of 3.14159, goes on forever.
There you go.
But it's based on the radius and the circumference. So pi is...
Flo, it's based on the diameter and the circumference. Isn't that tau? When you base it on the radius. Pretty sure. But I
yes,
mean,
2 pi r.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's not.
Is the circumference divided by 2 times the radius, or circumference divided by diameter.
The diameter, yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing, really. 2 radiuses are the same thing as the diameter. It's interesting.
But now what happens if we have a sphere like this? And what happens if we draw a circle on that sphere like that?
It's not a circle. Circle has the ratio of pi. You've removed it from that.
The radius of that circle is no longer a straight line. It's a curved line.
It's not a radius of a circle if it's curved, Blue.
He 3D'd it also, I would imagine.
Wow.
Because it's across the surface of that.
I'm going to have to just Blue Marble Science.
We have a sphere like this. And what happens if we draw a circle on that sphere like that? The radius of that circle is no longer a straight line. It's a curved line because it's across the surface of that sphere. So clearly that radius...
It's not a radius, Blue. Please, everybody. Don't start thinking that radiuses can curve.
No, radius is a straight line.
Yeah. That's just not a radius. Even as noble as the Blue Marble Scientist attempts to entertain a geometric argument, please don't be thinking that radiuses curve.
can't be the same as the radius for a Euclidean circle.
What? A Euclidean circle? Now, what's going on here?
Do we got to break out elements again?
Yeah,
Whoa.
See, I've never seen this before. Thank you very much, Paige. Like Paige said, come on, you're going to have to go over this. And it's like, wait, well, we're going over the logic of it, right? It's logic night. So, how could anybody suggest that a radius isn't straight? I need to listen to that again. This is great. I may have to get this one.
Diameter, same thing. But now what happens if we have a sphere like this? And what happens if we
Magic.
draw a circle on that sphere like that?
It's not a circle.
The radius of that circle is no longer a straight line. It's a curved line
It's not a
because it's
radius.
across the surface of that sphere. So clearly that radius can't
Not a
be the
radius.
same as the radius for a Euclidean circle. But how can we figure out what it should be?
How can we figure out what it should be? What? First off, we have to imagine that radius is curve. And then we have to imagine what it should be. What? Is there any logic going on here at all? Is he just filling his own head with nonsensical... Like, why is he even doing this? Blue, what made you make this video? Anybody any idea where spherical pi comes from? I'm beginning to think it comes out of the arse of a blue marble scientist. Curved radiuses? What's going on?
Well, let's give it a try.
Let's give it a try.
We've got a given sphere here with a radius we call r and a circumference I called c sub gc for great circle. That
It's a great circle. Because it is the biggest circle that can be drawn. That is why it is great. It is also great because it can be a triangle, as Rumpus has told us, or a square. You can make it any shape you want. You just keep adding angles until you come up with the mathematically derived amount of angles within the shape that is defined as a great circle. But it can be any sort of shape that you want it to be, really. We'll get into that.
being the largest circle you could possibly draw on a sphere.
The largest circle you could possibly draw on a sphere. So let me just get Euclid out. Now it says here within the postulates within geometry, it says, and that a circle may be described from any centre at any distance from that centre. Blue Marble seems to have put the biggest circle you could possibly draw. It's not within the realms of geometry, because geometry states, and I'll read it again, and that a circle may be described from any centre at any distance from that centre. I.e., no limit. No limit to circle size. What did Blue Marble say? Let's see.
Call R, and the circumference I called C sub GC for great circle. That being the largest circle you could possibly draw on a sphere.
The largest circle you could possibly draw on a sphere. Not within the realms of geometry then. Drawing shapes on other geometric things isn't a new geometry. It doesn't work like that.
And we want to find the circumference.
Go on. Sorry, go on.
Because if you have a plane or sheet of paper that represents plane, you can extend this sheet of paper theoretically indefinitely. But you cannot do that with a given sphere. So you have a limit.
Yeah.
So you cannot fulfill geometrical conditions. To fulfill this condition which Euclid states. So in other words, you cannot do Euclidean geometry on a sphere.
Yeah. So
simple.
you can strike the third as well. If anybody ever says they have a problem with the fifth, we'll say you can also get rid of the third, right? It's not unique in its ability to be misrepresented or just changed within the minds of the blue marble scientists. I think this is interesting. The conversations that the blue marble scientists are opening themselves up to are fascinating. But do you reckon they're going to actually question themselves about this understanding of pi and straight lines? I doubt it.
Of another circle, we'll call that one C sub alpha, and we need its diameter as well.
Wow.
So let's let this angle here be angle alpha between the vertical line and the radius line that's drawn.
The vertical line and the radius line, did he just say? Did he just say that? Did he separate vertical and radius? That can't be right, can it?
For him, in that post, he said that vertical is radius.
Yeah. And he's just separated them. Convenient, isn't it? Do you want to listen to that again? Listen.
So let's let this angle here be angle alpha between the vertical line and the radius line that's drawn.
Between the vertical and the radius? Which one do you reckon's the vertical?
This dotted one, I think.
Isn't that a radius, though?
Yes, it is. But he says now that it is not.
Oh, well, it may be orientated vertically, right? Everybody can see that. Everybody's on the complete understanding that radius there is orientated in the vertical position stated by Blue Marble Science. Thank you very much, Blue.
Yes, and these two not dotted normal lines
radiuses
are not orientated vertically. That's why he is saying that they are not. They are. He is naming them only radii.
Yeah, with the geometric term, the radius. Even though this one is a radius as well, he's just letting you know that this one is different from these ones because this one is orientated vertically.
So he is blatantly violating his own spherical geometry right now.
What, by using a radius?
By differing radius from vertical.
Yeah. Well done, Blue. Thanks.
That's the angle that we're looking at. And the Euclidean radius of that circle is therefore r times sine alpha. That's just simple trigonometry. So the circumference.
Simple trigonometry. Why is that? Because this line over here is perpendicular to this vertical. Like the perpendicular to this vertical here as well. For this circle.
So he is making trigonometry inside of the sphere.
Yeah.
Which is not allowed in spherical geometry. Just to remind.
Yeah, this is spherical trigonometry, which is entirely Euclid, right? Thank you very much, Blue. If you're using triangles within the circle, within the sphere, or in relation to the circle, quite clearly here. This is a triangle that he's just made.
So it is not spherical trigonometry, what he is doing.
Well, yeah, I think this is called spherical trigonometry, right? You're using the sphere, but you're using trigonometry within the sphere. You're using Euclidean trigonometry to define a point on the outside of the sphere. Spherical trigonometry. Not spherical geometry, right? They're different completely.
Yes, I am referring to their definition of spherical geometry because spherical geometry in Glauber's mind is geometry made only solely on the surface of the sphere.
Yeah.
And now what he is doing, he is just ignoring this surface.
Yeah, he's showing everybody that this is actually Euclidean triangles that he's drawing inside. This circle here that's drawn, and this circle here, and these relationships of these lines, perpendicular. This one is perpendicular to the plane of these circles. They're both perpendicular to this vertical. Some may say horizontals. These two circles are orientated because this one has been defined as vertical. These two circles are orientated horizontally. That perpendicularity is completely Euclidean. And these circles also that have been cut through the center of the sphere, they're circles.
So far, this spherical surface is completely redundant here.
Yeah. Yeah, it was only a position to find that point there on the triangle to get this. Really good.
So that circle is going to be 2 times that radius times pi. In other words, 2 pi r sine alpha. But the spherical radius of that circle is going to be r times alpha. So the spherical diameter...
What? The spherical radius and spherical diameter? Wow. Love it. Well done. Blue Marble Science. Spherical radius and spherical diameter. Best be getting wrote up into science class.
This is inconsistency because this radius is straight line. All 3 radii are straight lines. So why he is drawing diameter? Diameter of what? This is complete nonsense. This curved diameter has nothing to do with radii he drawn.
It's well, once you involve a sphere into anything, and the Blue Marble scientists, they get like a power up, don't they? Just because of the mention of a sphere, and you adding it to what everybody knows is a straight line, like angles and stuff like that. If you, to a Blue Marble scientist, the addition of an extra describing word can change the other word completely, at least in their minds anyway. Got to give them their, like, I don't know. It starts off with a straight line and now he's got a spherical diameter, which is different than a diameter of a sphere. I bet it gets really confusing, right?
And different diameter than this diameter of this circle. One circle and second circle is completely different diameter of, it is not diameter because it is curved, but it has nothing to do with these 2 circles, because diameters of these 2 circles inside of the sphere are different. They are straight lines, and they are not related to this curved so-called diameter. I don't know what he is going to do with
Spherical, the number 5, the spherical radius. So the spherical diameter is. Blue Marble, he's put a comment in the chat that he misspoke. This may be one of those cases where Blue misspoke and wrote it out exactly as he misspoke it. But then he's saying that he misspoke it, so it's not actually what? I mean, who? What are you trying to do here, Blue? You're telling everybody that you're confused about what you're actually saying and writing out.
But still, this radius, spherical radius, is straight line. So how he obtained curved diameter from straight radius? I don't get it.
I think it's, well, it's Blue Marble Science, right? Hopefully there will be a further follow-on video explaining the Blue Marble scientific method employed to why don't reason it? Let's say, wait, how do you just change what is the radius there, already a straight line, into a different radius? Because it's straight line. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Is 2r times alpha. We'll call that d sub s. So spherical pi, we can call it pi prime.
Pi prime. You could call it not pi, right? Because pi is a constant. So let's call it not pi.
Yeah,
Sounds-
non-pi.
Yeah, it's
Non-pi.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why you call it pi prime. It's just not pi, Blue. Amazing. Blue marble scientific method.
Is the spherical radius divided by the spherical diameter. In other words, c sub alpha divided by d sub s.
Let me go back again.
By the spherical diameter. Pi prime is the spherical radius divided by the spherical diameter.
The spherical radius divided by the spherical diameter. What? Are you sure? Is this the part that you misspoke, Blue? I'll go back again, right?
Is 2 is going to be r times alpha. So the spherical diameter is 2r times alpha. We'll call that d sub s. So spherical pi, we can call it pi prime, is the spherical radius divided by the spherical diameter. In other words,
It's spherical pi, something that doesn't, like, it's not pi. Not pi is the diameter divided by the radius.
Pi is not this
It's
relation.
a straight line divided by a straight line.
Pi is not relation between radius and diameter.
Well, to a blue marble scientist, it sounds like it is. Yes, please.
Because this relation is already established. It's twice as radius. So what's the point?
Blue, are you there? Oh, he's just giving out insults to Mobius. He might be busy. He might be busy blue marble sciencing with his lab coat on, strolling around his room. This is that. I think you must have misspoke, Blue. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that that's one of the things that you use to test all of your people. All right. To see whether they can pick up on your mistakes. That was a mistake, right? That was purposely a mistake.
But still, pi is not relation between radius and diameter.
Yeah, pi is a constant, right? It doesn't change from what it is, and everybody knows what pi is. And as Blue Marble stated, this is definitely not pi. Right? It's just not pi. So, I mean, he can make up anything he wants, really, because it's just like not pi. He's told everybody. It can sound really clever when he's saying it too, as well.
Words c sub alpha divided by d sub s. In spherical pi, 2 pi r sine alpha divided by 2r alpha. Let's get rid of the 2's and the r's. And spherical pi is equal to pi sine alpha divided by alpha. That's all there is to it.
Pi. Spherical pi equals pi, and then different than pi.
And normal pi has nothing to do with angles. This is length of diameter and length of circumference. Nothing to do with an angle. And he is making this angular relationship somehow.
He's
And-
adding pi
Yes,
to an angle relationship.
and another thing, what I said, diameter to circumference, and his pi is diameter to radius, so to itself. So like to itself, I don't know. It is complete nonsense.
Is he helping the other group of society members in aiding them what you can do with an angle? Well, you can add it to pi somehow to, I mean, what can you do with an angle? Blue Marble's just tagged it onto pi to say that not pi is equal to pi and an angle.
The
Okay,
only
but-
thing I've heard that you're able to do with an angle is get your position along a latitude or longitudinal line. But I don't know what that does for you.
When you say line, are you talking geometrically?
Not sure, because they what is a line of longitude or latitude?
Well, a line is a straight line, right? Within geometry. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's why maybe there's some confusion here, because they say it's a line. Right? Like latitude line, longitude line.
Yeah, they say that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular too.
So are latitude and longitude perpendicular?
I think so, yeah.
That's going to cause a problem.
It's going to cause problems for him. I mean, I've known it for quite a while. Nobody's ever told me any different.
You can't have perpendicularity on the surface of a sphere.
Yeah, we know that.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't do angles on the surface of a sphere. Every line's curved on the surface of a sphere. That's a geometric fact.
But still, I would say that Blue Marble science is inconsistent, because till today, to this film, to this clip, they said, all of them, that pi is changing on the surface of the sphere because it is still relationship between circumference and diameter. But now in this film, Blue Marble science is stating that this is not this relationship. He is creating something different. He is creating relationship between diameter and its own radius. So I would say that there is no relationship, or relationship like whole to the part.
And an internal angle, right?
It's completely different relationship, if it is any, because I cannot see any relationship between radius and diameter, beside that diameter is twice as long as radius. This is simple, but this is not normal pi. This is not this relationship. So he's completely changing relationship. I don't know why he is naming it pi.
As long as everybody can see that he's used the sine function there. And sine is what we've been dealing with within the sine wave. The revolution of that point on the circle over time with the frequency gives you that sine wave pattern. Again, entirely Euclidean. The angle between the two straight lines, the sine function, all of that entirely Euclidean. Blue marble science. Making up something that doesn't exist, because if you're using Euclidean, then obviously pi is pi. Why would you want to use Euclidean geometry to say that not pi is not pi, just pi with something else? Is there any logic in that? Is there any logic in the want for blue marble to want to try and do that? I mean, why is he doing it?
He's just inventing new pi, something different than pi. And he's naming it pi prime. So not pi. Why?
Yeah,
I would say that for confusion.
But his confusion? Does he want other people to feel like he's confused?
I think that he is confusing the audience because of this pi prime. Because in this so-called equation, we have pi prime equals to pi and something. So it is somehow related to normal pi. It is not. It is not.
He put normal pi in the other equation, though. Didn't he?
Normal pi is the relationship between diameter and circumference. And his pi prime is pi, but with another relationship. So it is not pi. It is.
We've got a thing from Blue Marble Science. He says, to spot on, he said, it's orientated vertically in the drawing, the one that we saw with the vertical, the one that he said that he differentiated the vertical. He did that because that was orientated vertically. That's why he said that, right? That's the reason he said it. It says, it's orientated vertically in the drawing. That's the only reason I said that. The one that he differentiated from vertical is the one that was vertical in the drawing. That's why he called it vertical.
Okay, so that means that only one radius is vertical.
Yeah, in that drawing, one of them was orientated vertically and the other ones were not.
But he's saying that all radii are verticals.
He did say that, yeah.
So now he's contradicting himself. Sorry.
It's Blue Marble Science. I mean, what would Blue Marble Science be without contradictions? How could they perform their Blue Marble scientific method if they weren't allowing for contradictions and justifying contradictions? If that is actually the Blue Marble scientific method, the acceptance, the group acceptance of contradictions. Model-based, of course. Have to be model-based. 3-minute video. This is a 6-minute video. We've only got 3 minutes through it. I think we've spotted a few mistakes. Purposeful. They must be purposeful mistakes. Blue Marble Science would never go against mathematics like this. This is a... Is it April? Is it April the 1st?
Well, let's find out what the limits of that would be. And first, let's take a look at what happens when our angle alpha tends toward pi over 2. In other words, right there. Well, the limit as alpha approaches pi over 2 is pi sine alpha divided by alpha. And that's the limit of pi sine of pi over 2 divided by pi over 2. Well, sine of pi over 2 is 1. So it's pi divided by 2 In other words, the limit is just 2. So if we draw the
2.0000, I think you'll find blue. I added an extra 0 in there.
biggest circle we can on the surface of a sphere, that's a great circle.
Breaking Euclidean postulate number 3.
Spherical pi for that circle has a value of 2.0.
Not pi.
Yes.
That's
and
how you know it's not pi, because what he's talking about there is definitely not pi.
Yes, it means that his pi now is means that great circle is in relationship to diameter would be 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. So and this is the smallest relation or ratio you can obtain. You cannot go smaller because you are limited by
1 to 2 ratio. Is that where he's got his diameter to radii? Mistaken.
No, it is not linked with this radii. So this is, curved diameter on the surface of the sphere is completely made up.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that within his spherical pi, he said it's the ratio of the radius to the diameter, or diameter to the radius, right?
Yes, because
And
I
that's
know
where you get to, don't you?
Yes, because in his spherical geometry, half of circumference of this great circle is, in his geometry, is diameter. So half of the circle of great circle is diameter. That's why it is this relationship 1 to 2.
Well, I think that's why he got confused earlier, because he said the relationship between the radius and the diameter, which would be 1 to 2, right?
Yes,
One diameter to 2 radius, like of a real Euclidean circle, right? If you completely misunderstand what pi is,
this is relationship between straight line, diameter being straight line, and circle being, of course, curved line. But now we have just the same great circle and divide it into half, and this half of this great circle is diameter. Simple. Because you cannot distinguish between diameter and great circle. Half of the great circle and diameter are the same. Just it. That's why this relation 1 to 2.
blue
And
marble
this is
science.
the smallest one ratio. You cannot have more.
I don't know. Have you ever spoken to Bob the science guy? He can turn pi the opposite way. Shorter than a straight line. Have you never heard of a shorter than a straight line?
I've heard. Yes, of course. But on the sphere, it is impossible. Maybe he was talking about inverted sphere or whatever. I don't know. But on normal sphere, you cannot have smaller ratio than 1 to 2.
I don't think you can have one. You can't have any difference in pi. That's why pi is a constant. But I mean, you does when you inject a model, however ridiculous that model may be, it causes a logical break within your reasoning. You have to, and that gives you seems to be a blue marble scientist can just imagine that pi is different somehow, but knowing that pi isn't any different, and pi is actually a constant about the relationship of a circle, like everybody's understanding of a circle. But Blue's just said that circles are different. He imagines circles differently, which is fantastic. Blue Marble Science.
But now what happens if we draw the smallest circle we possibly can? What happens when alpha tends to 0? Well,
Tends to 0. Does anybody know what an angle of 0 is?
0.
Yeah, an angle of 0. Nice one, Blue. I love it.
Sounds like a non-angle. We
Yes, a knot.
A knot.
Yeah.
Not that.
in that case, the limit is alpha tends to 0 of pi sine alpha divided by
I hate it
alpha,
when I can't get to
which
the
in this
mute
case
button.
is the limit of
My
pi.
phone's on the other side of the shop, and I wanted to say not that.
I was channeling you again, Rob. That's all. No problem.
The science of the not that. Yeah,
Yep,
just not
yep.
that.
Yeah, not that. Nope.
Yeah. No definition of what it is, just not that.
The not that and stolen concept.
Pi sine 0 divided by 0. Well, the sine of 0 is 0. So now we have 0 divided by 0, and that's indeterminate. But we have a way of getting rid of that. We can
Right? You've got a 0 divided by a 0. And we've got a way of getting rid of that. Really? Genius. Let's hear.
use L'Hopital's rule, and we can take the derivative of the top and the bottom of that. So the derivative of sine is cosine, and the derivative of alpha is just 1.
What, the derivative of an angle of 0 is 1? Nice. I like it.
So spherical pi for this condition is pi times cosine 0, which is 1, divided by 1, or simply pi.
See what he did there? He changed zeros for ones to end up with pi. An angle of 0. Fantastic. Poof.
Similar trick that
Flat Earth
Charles
Math
Flat Earth Math did with his first example.
But Blue's not going to say it's a trick. Blue's not going to tell everyone that was a trick. Blue thinks that's mathematics.
In fact, it is a trick because dividing by 0, it has to equal 1. This is not logical statement. This is just convention. This is just convention. People just agreed that if we divide by 0, we will have 1 always. This is not calculated that it has to be 1. No, this is just convention, arbitrary convention. Nothing more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I give it the 0. Like, since we're talking mathematics linked to logic, there is no nothing in reality. There's no way you can relate to no thing, because look around. There's all sorts of things. You can obviously predicate upon that. The no thing cannot be predicated upon, therefore is not a part of logic. But it is a part of mathematics. And since we've found out through pi that there is a problem numerically with that, then since you can't have anything and try to logically derive it into a proof-based system where it doesn't actually exist, hey, maybe it's just a different thought process that's going on here and whatever, but yes, 0 does exist within mathematics, right? It is a constituent of mathematics, but the no thing and the less than no thing, they don't exist. There is always something.
I would say that zero exists in arithmetics, but not entirely in mathematics, because, for example, in geometry, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, Stefan's saying when the angle between two lines is 0 degrees, it is said to be zero angle, i.e.
It's said, but
not
no
an
angle.
angle.
Yes, not an angle.
Yeah.
So not an angle.
Yeah, not. So what's the point in using a mathematical definition of something that isn't something? It just doesn't make any sense. There's no logical reasoning. Because you could call anything a not something. There's loads of things that things aren't. You could be there forever if you start injecting all of the not into mathematics. Mathematics is more about the statement positive of this is. In fact, that's what it's concerned about, not the not. Nice trick though, Blue. Nice trick.
So now we've defined the boundaries of it. Spherical pi lies...
Blue Marbles, they've just defined the boundaries with a mathematical trick. Nice. Like it.
between a value of 2.0 and pi. You know, I wonder if anybody else knows about this. Here's a screenshot from Google Earth. I've drawn a circle that's a little over 1,800 miles in radius. That's pi over...
That's not a circle, is it?
This is slice of the sphere, not circle.
Well, I don't know, is it? Like this distance here. I mean, what's going on? These two lines are perpendicular to each other. So you may just believe that what you're watching there is something on the surface of a sphere. But if this is a circle and these are two perpendicular lines, I'd say this is just a trick of the eye, right? Blue Marble's just doing another trick.
Yes. This blue so-called spherical object suggests that these
curved.
lines are curved.
Yeah, but they're not if they're perpendicular. Let's see what Blue Marble explains it as. Anyway, let's go on. I'll bring it back to it.
about this. Here's a screenshot from Google Earth. I've drawn a circle that's a
circle, Euclidean. A circle is on a plane.
little over 1,800 miles in radius.
Radius, so it's a circle with a radius. It's definitely plane shape. All right, this is just a trick. This image in the background, completely misleading. It's not one of the words he's using.
That's pi over 6 in terms of radians. So spherical pi would be pi times the sine of pi over 6 divided by pi over 6. Spherical pi would have a value of 3.0 for this circle.
For the circle, he's got a different value. He's got a value of 3. Nice.
In Google Earth, we've got a radius of 1802.7 and a circumference of 10,782.21. If we divide that circumference by twice that radius, you get spherical pi of 3.
So he is definitely talking about curved radius, and this circle is not a circle but slice of the sphere. If he's using that numbers.
Yeah, he put measure the circumference of the area of a circle on the ground. Blue Marble's doing this. Right, but that's what Google says. Google mistaken about this circle and area. I don't know what Blue Marble's trying to say here. What is he trying to say? He's talking about words like circles and radius, but then injecting in spherical. Bit confusing, right? Do you want to hear it again? Here we go.
About this. Here's a screenshot from Google Earth. I've drawn a circle that's a little over 1,800 miles in radius. That's pi over 6 in terms of radians. So spherical pi would be pi times the sine of pi over 6 divided by pi over 6. Spherical pi would have a value of 3.0 for this circle. In Google Earth, we've got a radius of 1802.7 and a circumference of 10,782.21. If we divide that circumference by twice that radius, you get spherical pi of 3.0. So that's the story, and that's why spherical pi cannot be a constant. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
But still, he was talking about, he was showing straight line, like ish, this red line, but in fact, he was talking about curving radius
I don't
and
know.
diameter.
Is he saying that Google changed pi?
According to these numbers, pi is changing.
Pi is
So
3.
So conclusion is that it cannot be straight diameter or radius, because with straight radius and normal circle, pi wouldn't change.
Yeah.
So if pi is changing here, it means that this radius cannot be straight line. Simple.
What sort of conspiracy do you think Blue's uncovered here? Because there's definitely something going on, right? If is Blue Marble saying that Google are varying pi within their...
Maybe I didn't check that, so I cannot say what Google did. But if these calculations are from Google, that would mean that yes, that Google did something like that. I don't know.
Wow, that'd be
I'm not
news.
sure.
I mean, it's a good job that Blue Marbles uncovered this. I'd have never have known. Like I say, it's my understanding that pi is a constant within reality, right? Never realised that Google might be changing pi. It's a good job that Blue Marble's pointing this out. Is anybody else okay with this? Because I think it's quite a big leap, right? From what has been known to, yeah, I'm flabbergasted.
I have a question. If this is a job of the Google, I would have some question for Google. Why they did that? If they did that? I'm not sure, but if they did that, why? Why they used curved radius?
It's got an area there as well. It might have like uncovered it, covered it up a bit, but it does say there's an amount of square miles. That's highly contradictory, right?
Yeah, because squares are planar, not curving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no possibility of a square on a curved surface. Yet, Blue Marble science seems to suggest that they've changed pi somehow. Hey, who would I know? I'm glad that Blue Marble's uncovered this, though. Finish it at that.
So maybe we have also Google scientists.
Yeah. Google the blue marble scientists, the ones that do put like a big blue circle in the background to try and make people think that straight lines are curving. They are straight lines, two perpendiculars, aren't they?
They are, yes, they should. But but therefore pi cannot change. So numbers are telling us that these lines, which are obviously straight in the picture, they are calculated as not straight.
Pi blue, we know, right? It doesn't need checking. Pi is a constant. Also, we know, it doesn't need checking, that a radius and a diameter are definitely the straight component part of the relationship within pi. The reason pi is a constant is because as the diameter changes for the circle, so does the circumference, always in exactly the same ratio. It doesn't change. Always the numerical value, but because the numerical value cannot be reached, we call it pi, in honor of the fact that there is no number that you can place there. So we call it pi. It doesn't change. It's just pi. So saying not pi is a statement of the not that. It's typical blue marble scientist, but it means nothing. Pi is pi, and not pi is something else that isn't pi. Genius. But to say that there are people within reality that use the not pi in replacement for pi is a little bit strange. Even coming from a blue marble scientist of well-renowned white coatness, as the blue marble head scientist himself, blue marble science.
But still, blue marble science said before that ratio is changing, but ratio between circumference and diameter. But now blue marble science is changing, not just numeric relationship, but there is no circumference and diameter relationship, but just diameter to radius, or circumference to half of circumference, which yes, which would be the same. So he's changing whole idea of pi here. So he's changing not only numbers, but factors, let's say, because this is not this relationship between two other things, not these things we know. So completely different, separate relationship.
Have you ever thought about the fact that what is a nautical mile within the understanding of where a nautical mile comes from? Do you get that?
As far as I know, this is to have only for having easier calculation, to have this relationship between 1 minute of or arc minute or whatever to 1 mile for calculation.
Yeah.
as far as I know.
Okay. Right. Well, you do understand that the actual real life distance measured on land is 69 miles.
Yes.
Right. So to say that 1 degree is divided by 60 and call that a nautical mile. Now, is a nautical mile the same as an actual mile?
No, of course not.
No. So what would the difference be within the division of a line, a length that is different than the ratio of 1 to, right? Because the diameter is considered as a 1, and then the circumference is the relationship between that 1 and the circumference, right? But what would happen if you changed the 1 to an angle measurement? By clever sleight of hand trickery.
Yes, this trick, this is really, this is a fraud, because it assumes that the same thing has two values, different values, because diameter and circumference, if they have this relationship 1 to 2, it means they are at the same time they have different or at least two values. So, and this is impossible, because you cannot have given distance having two different values.
Yeah, the
this is
actual
impossible.
the land mile that's measured at 69 miles per 1 degree, the angular difference at each end of a horizontal, right? That in reality is changed to the angle, and you divide the angle by 60, which is it's a trick.
Yes, and the same thing with this pi. It is impossible on the sphere to have the same ratio, and it means that the diameter has to have different different relationship being diameter. So it is impossible. And this is a fraud. For me, this is a simple fraud trick.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
They've changed the idea of a mile to be in a linear distance to it's now an angle. Whenever you put nautical mile there, they're now talking about an angle. It's not an actual linear distance, it's an angle change. It's a big trick, massive trick. A nautical mile does not relate to the land mile that you understand in any way.
Yep, it's based on an angle. Yep.
Whereas the actual mile is based upon an actual measured straight line distance geometrically, because that's what a distance is, a line.
Yes, if we have 69 miles and this 1 degree, it means that first we have measurement of the land, and then we can have an angle difference, not other way.
Yeah.
First was real measurement of the land. So we have something solid first, and then we can somehow to translate it into angle, but this relation. But first measurement. But making this nautical mile, I don't know. It's just maybe for more convenient calculation, but
Wow.
still I don't know.
Okay, I'll check this out. I've got a few comments from Blue, but he's outdoing himself. Blue Marble Science, thank you for coming. Right, here we go.
He has it down to the millimeter.
He says, this is the first one, right? Blue Marble Science. So I made a fool out of you again, and you are having a hard time with it, Bev. Congratulations on your I don't know what that is. Victory. I won. What? I'm not so sure where you made a fool out of me, Blue. Paige asked us to go over that, and it seems like you seem to say some ridiculous things. Like I can remember you saying curved radius. Eye changing. It's great.
I would say that Blue Marble Science just exposed himself as a cheater or trickster, but there is nothing scientific here.
What do you reckon about this, though? This is Blue Marble Science says the distance from the pole to the equator is 10 million meters. Miles? Meters. 10 million meters. Full stop. 90 degrees equals 5,400 arc minutes. 10 million divided by 5,400 equals 1,851.85 meters. It's been rounded to 1852 meters officially. Blue Marble seems to have just equated a distance to an angle. Weird. How do you do that? The distance from the pole to the equator. From an angle.
In a straight line, supposedly. Not on the curved surface, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there. That sounds ridiculous. Are you... The distance from the pole to the equator is 10 million meters. Did they measure that? That seems very... Did they not change it? I think they changed it afterwards. But did they measure that first?
Down to the meter. I'm sure they can do better. Micron. They have technology to do better than that. Why stop at the meter?
10 million? It seems a bit... You know, I mean, I've done measurements. Quite a few.
It's nonsense.
I've
Sheer
never
nonsense.
ended up with one that's, you know, bang on the meter. And to get it at 10 million.
Not 10 million and 1 or 10 million and 2 or 10. Bang on.
It's a reverse engineered one, that, right? You've got to be able to see that. It's a mathematical trick based upon getting a distance from an angle that's based upon a, well, let's call it 10 million to start off with, right? There's no measured anything in this.
No,
It's based on a known circumference, what they believe. That's all it is.
So they set
right,
it.
Blue?
They
Sorry?
set it. They set the distance from the pole to the equator as 10 million meters. Let's just say it's 10 million meters. Right? Not a measured distance at all. Yeah,
Definitely
Blue,
not
Blue
measured.
says that's what it was defined to be. Yeah, clever trick. Let's just say it is, and then let's just say that an angle can derive a distance from an angle, which you can't, but let's fool the blue marble scientists. Hopefully down the line, at some point, some blue marble scientist will be making videos about this, proving something that he hasn't got a clue what he's even talking about.
By the way, these calculations are made, whatever it is, on the straight lines, of course, because they are using normal triangle, Euclidean triangle, but then they are ignoring this distance because they have to translate it into a curvature of the Earth. So, which is impossible because you are losing, or you are losing distance, or you are losing angles. It is impossible to translate that way. You cannot do that because the drop of the angle would be on curved surface bigger than on a straight line, because supposedly you are declining from let's say horizontal position, and so this angle should drop faster, but it is calculated only for straight line, not curved line. So this is complete mess. It doesn't add this calculation anyway, and it cannot work on the sphere.
Yeah, welcome to Geometric Facts. Yes, like Blue Marbles just said, that 10 million meters, not measured. No, that's how they defined the meter, which is fascinating because everybody knows what the meter is. So how does 10 million meters define the meter as a distance?
Which Earth did they use? The pear shape, the geoid shape, the which one? How did they measure it?
It's fantastic, isn't it, when you think about it? The way I think Blue Marble's saying here that isn't how they found out the measurement, is it, Blue? It can't
He
be.
said that they defined the meter to be this relation. No, sorry, but it was just arbitrary. Just they took the stick and they said, "Oh, okay, this would be a meter." They measured with cubits
it was
before.
in the vault. It was locked away in the vault in France.
In France,
the meter stick, the one that everybody had to be referred to. It was a treasured, prized possession, that, to be in possession of the meter, the original meter. But I mean, how did they get that from? Or unless
somebody
they just
said,
said,
hey.
let's say 10 million of these, 10 million of these from here to over there.
Exactly. So shall it be written, so shall it be measured, so shall it be done. Bang.
Blue's saying it's the other way around. He's saying that the 10 million was what defined the meter. Seems a bit strange, isn't it?
No, nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah, the meter's a meter. It's a linear distance. The same as a foot. I mean, you can have Germanic feet, English feet. But the idea is it's a standardized distance. You don't define the distance from stating that 10 million of them.
Yes, unit means unit one. So you have to have first one, and then you can multiply this, not divide some ridiculous number.
You can use the king's knuckle if you want.
It's like, think about the logical what Blue's actually stating here, though, right? He's stating that you start off with 10 millions and then
Yes,
define it down to a 1 to find out
yes.
what the 1 is.
So what about qubits? Because of course they measured by qubits or foot. But let's say qubits.